Okay, so good morning, Year 6. I'm Miss Hannah, and I've been asked today to do a little lesson on character and introduce you to what your character lessons will be like when you join us at King's Leadership Academy in September. How exciting. So I hope that you're all doing okay during lockdown. I can't wait to meet all of you in September. I think we're going to have a fantastic year together in your year 7 year. So like I said, I'm Miss Hannah. I'm in charge of character here at King's Leadership Academy, and we're just going to go through what character is all about. You probably didn't have character at your primary school. You might have had lessons which, when you find out more about character, you might see some connections. So you might not have called it character, you might have called it something different, but we're going to go over what it is today. So the best bit about character is that it's all about being the best version of yourself. In character, everyone obviously is already brilliant, but character is all about going that extra mile, not settling for just being a good student at King's, and also thinking about the future beyond King's, like in the future when perhaps you want to go off and have your career or possibly go to university or something like that. It's all about being brilliant, not just good, but going that extra mile as well. And the things we talk about in character will help prepare you for going that extra mile in the future. So this is some of the range of topics. Now, this is just what you will be doing in year 7. You also have character right up until year 11. So you can imagine how many topics we go through during character. So some of our range of topics, we start off with the organisation for secondary school. I know the idea for some of you about going to secondary school might be a bit overwhelming. I'm sure you're excited, but I'm sure that there's also a little bit of nerves underneath that. There's a lot to get organised. Instead of just having 1 or 2 teachers throughout the day, you can have a different teacher each hour of the day. There's lots of new people, and to remember there's lots more to organise. You might find that you have more homework than perhaps you're used to at primary as well. So we always make sure first thing we do in character is to try and help you get organised. We talk about the equipment that you should be bringing in to school every day. We talk about the routines that we have at school, such as the mantra and lining up. I won't go over those things today because it's quite difficult to get you guys to line up when we're doing an online version, but we'll go over that in September. But we'll go over what equipment you need for a school day, your school uniform, how we expect you to be during classes, that level of endeavour and effort we expect, and also give you tips on how to get organised with your homework, your punctuality, to make sure you're in school on time and make sure that your work is completed on time. We're also going to have some tips from older pupils as well, because I'm sure you'll find that there's nothing more valuable in those first few weeks of year 7 than having year 8 or year 9 give you some advice. If you're lucky enough to have an older brother or sister who perhaps already goes to King's, and some of you will, I'm sure that you'll realise how valuable that is, just to give you little tips on how to make your life a little bit easier in those first few weeks, a little bit less stressful. And you can see that there's a huge wide range of topics that we're going to go over in 2020, such as online safety, respecting all religions, looking at fake news. Are we sure that we can identify fake news from real news? Are we always believing or trusting what we read online? We're going to look over some revision skills as well. That's often really appreciated by year 7s. Many people get quite nervous when they realise that we do quite a lot of assessments at King's. Perhaps you haven't done that many assessments in the past, but it's okay, because you're going to feel really prepared for it after our revision skills session. And again, we're going to be using tips from older peoples in the year, and they're going to be explaining to you how they got organised and how they made life a little bit easier for themselves. We're going to be talking about future flight paths. So that's what you want to do when you're older, whether you want to be a vet, whether perhaps you want to be Prime Minister, whether you want to be an astronaut, whatever it is, we're going to be researching all these exciting future flight paths. And we're going to be talking about what we need to do at school to make sure we can get to that next step there. We're going to talk about healthy relationships and friendships, puberty and the changes that's going to happen to our body, bullying, setting ourselves goals, having a healthy work and life balance. That's really important, particularly when you start new schools. Sometimes It can feel like you have a lot to do, but you have an endless to-do list. But it's really important also to make sure you're getting that downtime every day, that time to spend with your family, that time to spend quality time with your friends, and a chance to relax as well. That's really important every day. So we're going to be talking about how you can help balance your responsibilities as a pupil, and also how you get that chill time as well. And we're also going to be looking at exercise and healthy eating. So you can see so many topics, and that's just year 7. Now, you might have already spotted a connection between some of these topics. Now, all of these topics is all about your opinion and trying to help you, like I said before, be the best version of yourself. And so the best thing that I always find about character is that you can't be right or wrong. It's not like maths or English or science in that way, where there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer, and you have to try and work it out. I love character because it's all about people's opinions. So you might have a different opinion from the person sitting next to you in class, but that's okay, because everyone's opinion is valuable. And the more we look through this, the more we realize that everyone's opinions and way they like to deal with things or cope with obstacles is different, and we celebrate that in character. So that's why I find it such an interesting topic, because no matter how many times I teach a topic to a lesson, to a class, it's always going to turn out differently because of the individuals that are in my class. So I'm going to go on to my next PowerPoint there. So as you can see, this is our year 6 PowerPoint presentation. Now, you might have already watched some videos for perhaps science or English or maths, and they might have started with a hypothesis. And I'm just going to explain what a hypothesis is. Apologies if you already know what this is, but just in case no one else has explained it in the videos, we don't have lesson titles. Perhaps you had lesson titles in primary school. We don't do that at King's. We have lesson hypotheses instead. So a hypothesis is a statement. It's a sentence. And throughout the lesson, you have to try and think whether you agree with it or whether you disagree with it. Now, there's not a right or wrong answer. Again, it's not a right or wrong answer. It's all about what you think. So at the end of a lesson, I will often come back to the hypothesis, and I'll ask a few pupils to vote on whether they agree or disagree. And we often end up with a mix of people. Some people say, oh, I do agree that endeavour is the most important of all King's values. And the person next to them might say, I disagree. I think it's actually something else. And that's fine. It's all about expressing yourself. So as long as someone can explain to me why they've made that choice, I'm very happy. So I'm just going to go over the King's values. So our values are very important to us at King's. It's possibly the most important thing we are going to teach you throughout your entire time here at King's. Our values are very much like our school rules. I imagine that at primary school, you might have had school values or perhaps school rules. So if you did, this might be a little bit familiar to you. And so this is our Aspire code, our Aspire values. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice that they actually spell out Aspire down the side. So our first one, aspiration and achievement, self-awareness, professionalism, integrity, respect, and endeavour. Now, they're all really important, and we expect all pupils to try and reflect these Aspire values all the time. As long as you're trying, to me, that's the most important thing, because no one's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect, but I always try my best every single day I go into school to show these values. So we're just going to go into what they all mean, because some of them might be familiar words. Some of them you might not have heard before at all. Some of them you might have heard, but you're just not sure what they mean. So if you aspire to do something, that means that you've set yourself a goal. So we expect every child at King's, every pupil at King's, to set themselves a goal, whether it's that they want to improve in their science, perhaps it's that they want to get a higher grade in maths, perhaps it's that they want to learn how to play a musical instrument, or perhaps they want their handwriting to be a little bit neater, or perhaps they just want their focus in class to be a little bit more concentrated. It can be anything, any goal that helps you become a better version of yourself. And achievement is obviously when you achieve that goal. To aspire to do something is to set yourself a goal, such as this man is aspiring to reach the top of the mountain, and this little boy is aspiring to be a pilot. If they achieve it, achievement. Self-awareness, this is when we look really carefully at ourselves and we're really honest with ourselves. So you might need to be self-aware their own progress, but also the progress of other people around them. So we ask people to be self-aware, and that means to be aware of what you're doing and how it affects yourself or perhaps people in the same room as you. Being professional, I'm sure you probably heard what this word is, but that means always putting on your best show. So that could be looking really smart in your brand new King's uniform. It could be being organized and making sure that you bring in your homework on time, or making sure that you bring the correct equipment to school. It means always putting your best foot forward and putting on a good show and appearing professional. Integrity and respect. So integrity is another word for honesty. So I would expect all pupils at King's to show honesty to each other, and also obviously to show integrity to staff, not just teachers, but all staff who work within our school, such as the caretakers and the cooks who cook us our lunch. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect and integrity. I'm sure you know that respect means to be kind and thoughtful towards other people. We are a very respectful school. We are like a big family. We treat everyone equally. Everyone is given respect, but that respect is also expected to be returned. So you will always be treated in a respectful way. And of course, we expect you to treat everyone else in a respectful way as well, and to reflect that back. Finally, endeavour. Now, this is my secret favourite. Don't tell anyone. This is the one that I think is most important. Endeavour means to never, ever give up, to keep trying. So you can see that this young lady is not giving up on climbing her basically vertical mountain. That looks like insanely hard work. She is not giving up. She is showing endeavour by the fact that she is still climbing, she's still going, she hasn't packed it in. Now, I think endeavour is the most important, because obviously throughout the year there are going to be obstacles that we face together. Perhaps it's related to homework, perhaps it's organisation, perhaps there's a particular subject which you find quite tricky at first, but whatever it is, we are going to help you show endeavour, and we're going to keep on going at it until that barrier breaks down and you feel happier and more confident with that particular area. So I always say, as long as you're showing endeavour, I am very happy, because I think that's the most important thing, because you can't achieve anything unless you put in that endeavour first, can you? That endeavour is the starting point of everything. So we've got about halfway through our online session, so I'm just going to show you really quickly a real lesson from my Year 7 scheme. So we're going to have a look at one all about healthy eating today, because I thought that'd be a nice topic to start us off with, because I don't know about anyone else in lockdown, but because I'm home all the time, I've been snacking quite a lot. I think it's just very easy. Normally when we're at school, I'm very well behaved because I'm not snacking, I'm eating healthily and picking wise options at lunch, and normally I'm a very healthy person. But I don't know, I think it's just because we've been home during the day so much that I'm looking at those crisps all the time. I'm eyeing up crisps and chocolate, and I think it's just as well I'm doing a lesson on healthy eating today. So we'll start off again. We start our lesson with a hypothesis. So we're going to be discussing this hypothesis all the way through our lesson, and then at the very end of the lesson again, like I said, I would ask one or two people, I might ask you in the future, what you think about the hypothesis. Do you think it's true, or do you think it's not true? And why, most importantly. So most of our character lessons look like this. At the beginning, we've got our hypothesis. I can respect my body by being aware of what I ingest into it. So meaning you show respect for your body by eating well. He's talking about how it's disrespectful to eat loads of junk food and chocolate and crisps and fizzy drinks and stuff that we know is really bad for us, and how we know we are respecting our health and our body when we eat fruit and vegetables. We have keywords up here, so that means words that are going to be really important to the lesson. The keywords may be words that you haven't heard of before, but sometimes they might be quite familiar. So today it's ingest, which means to eat something, so anything you chew or swallow. Hydration, talk about in a minute. Obesity, you might be familiar with that word. That's a word that gets talked about quite a lot at the minute. It's another word for overweight. And sugar tax, we're going to come on to that later. So if you want to learn along, I want you to think about your water intake and how much you're drinking every day. Do you think that you drink enough water every day? If not, why not? Now, I am going to be honest, I don't drink enough water every day, but that's because I drink a lot of tea. Now, tea obviously does have water in it, but it's not as good for me as pure water like this. Likewise, I also, as a treat, you might do this too. Sometimes as a treat, I might have a Coca-Cola. It's a bit naughty, I know. And that will stop me from feeling thirsty, but it's not doing my body any good, is it? Because it has a lot of sugar in it. And it doesn't hydrate me in a way that water would. Now, if you are dehydrated, that means you're not getting enough water. So that might be that you're simply not drinking enough, or it might mean that you are drinking liquids, but you're not getting enough water. So if you're drinking Coca-Cola or Fanta quite a lot of the time or something like that, you're not going to get enough water, because obviously there's not a lot of water in Coca-Cola, and you will become dehydrated. Now, becoming dehydrated is not good for your body. It can make you have headaches. It can affect your vision. It could even make you feel quite dizzy. So that's why if ever I get a headache, the first thing I think of is, have I had enough glasses of water today? Should I have a large glass of water? And often I find it lets my headache fade away. Just move on to the next one. So like we said, signs of dehydration are first, if you feel thirsty, it probably means we need to have a drink, and dark colored urine. That means dark colored pee. So if your pee is like orange or red, particularly, that's a really bad sign. The darker your pee, the more water you need to drink. This is your body's way of trying to increase water intake and decrease water loss. So if your pee is really dark colored, that means your body is trying not to lose too much water and is trying to hold on to as much water as possible, because you are not drinking enough water. Like we said, you could also feel dizzy, you might get a headache, you could feel tired, like if you've got a really dry mouth or lips or eyes, that's not good. And like I say, not peeing enough, that's very dangerous as well. So it's really important that we drink enough water. Did you know that you're supposed to drink 8 cups of water a day? So if you're playing along at home, you might want to think about whether you've had 8 cups of water a day. Maybe you might want to think about yesterday, particularly if you're watching us in the morning and you're thinking, well, I haven't had a chance to drink 8 cups of water today. Yesterday, do you think if you added up all the amount you drank, it would count up to 8 cups of water? Remember, if you're drinking juice or Coke or something like that, there's not a lot of water in those. You need to drink 8 cups of pure water from the tap or from a bottle every day. So we've talked about drinking. We're going to have a look at eating just now. So this is a list of 20 of the heaviest places in England. So where people are most likely to be overweight. So apparently in Barnsley, you have 10.8% of people who are overweight. That means out of 100 people who live in Barnsley, you've got 10, almost 11 people who are overweight. And that's a big, big problem. Britain as a nation has a growing obesity issue. That means that more and more people are becoming overweight every year. Now, being overweight can cause health problems. That's why it's good to aspire to be healthy and at a healthy weight, because if we're an unhealthy weight, if we have too much weight or too little weight, I should also say, then that's going to cause health problems and it's going to make you quite ill. So in order for us all to be the best version of ourselves, the best me that I can be, we've got to make sure that our healthy weight is somewhere in the middle, not too small, but not too big either. So I want you to think about how easy it is for young people to have a healthy diet. Now, normally when we talk about this at school, because we're normally doing it at school rather than over Zoom, we talk about how easy it is for people at King's specifically to have a healthy diet. So you might want to think about your old primary school. And was it really easy for people to have a healthy diet? At lunch, were there options to drink healthy drinks like water and fruit juice and milk? Were there lots of fruit and veg that were being offered? Or did they often offer bad choices, so unhealthy choices? I'm thinking chocolate, crisps, fizzy drinks. Now, these are all things we like, but we also know they're not good for us to have every day. Every so often is fine for a bar of chocolate, but you shouldn't really be eating it every day, and I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that. So I want you to have a really quick think there about your old primary school. Was it easy for all young people at your old primary school to have a healthy diet, or was there lots of temptation of unhealthy food and drink? I'll just leave you to think of that for just 1 minute. Maybe just have a little think, try and remember what it's like. And after you think about what it was like at your primary school, I want you to think about, why is it such an issue that so many people in the UK weigh a little bit too much? Why do you think we have an obesity issue as a nation? Now, sometimes when I've talked about this with young people in the past, some people have said, well, if you don't want to be overweight, it's a good idea to have some exercise. You could have a bike ride, or you could go for a jog, or you could go for a walk, or you could do some sport, and they're right. But they say lots of people don't do that because lots of young people feel they're too busy. They feel they're too busy to go for a bike ride or for a run after school. They're too busy. They want to hang out with their friends, perhaps. Some people think that Britain has so many overweight people because we love eating unhealthy stuff. We have many fast food restaurants such as Burger King and McDonald's. And I know that some of them are closed at the minute, but even so, people just like unhealthy food, don't they? Like, as a nation, we really like Coca-Cola. We like chips. We like pizza. We like burgers. And I love all of those things too. But is that why perhaps Britain is having a growing obesity issue? Is because we do like all these unhealthy foods, and it is so easy to go to a supermarket and buy chips, or go to Burger King and buy a burger or a milkshake or something unhealthy. It is so easy to get these unhealthy foods. Like, every day you see it in the supermarket, people walking past with fruit and vegetables, which we know are better for you, and they go straight to the crisps and chocolate. And it's all about our choices, isn't it? It's all about our choices and making us better people, or the best version of ourselves. So just really quickly, we've got about 5 minutes left of this session. We're just going to talk about why it's so important that we are a healthy weight. Like I said, it's very likely, if you are overweight, that eventually you experience some health problems as well. Now, extreme overweight can sometimes be called obesity. Now, obesity is a nationwide problem, and it needs to be taken very seriously, as there are significant risks due to the condition. And so, did you know, for example, that if you are obese, so remember that means very overweight, you are 104% more likely to have a heart failure. You're 33% more likely to suffer from asthma. You could develop diabetes. You could develop a form of cancer when you're older, or high blood pressure. So there's loads and loads of health risks. Now, I'm not saying that every obese person will have all of these symptoms. They might not even have any of those symptoms. You are just more likely to develop one of these health problems if someone becomes obese. So that's why it's really important. We want to reduce the risk. We don't want anyone getting ill anytime soon. We want to avoid that as much as possible. And that's why it's really important for us to maintain a healthy weight. And to do that, we know we've got to eat healthily, and we know we've got to exercise regularly. So the next lesson, if we were doing this in school, the next lesson would all be about forms of exercise and us discussing about different exercise we do during the week, and possibly if we need to do more, or whether we're doing a really good amount of exercise. So you could have a think about that now. Perhaps when school opens, you are going to want to walk to school or bike to school. Most of our pupils do one or the other. Not many people get a lift into school, because many of our pupils want to do the exercise of cycling or walking in, and may count that as some of their daily exercise. I also live quite close to school, so I actually cycle in myself. I cycle half an hour into school and half an hour back home at the end of the day, and that's my daily exercise as well. So if you're cycling in, you might see me in September. So just really quickly, I want you to have a think about your dinner last night, and I want you to compare it to this. I'm trying to think what I had. I think I had pasta bolognese, which I love pasta bolognese, but that's not a very good example for what I'm doing today, because as you can see, this says that only this portion of your plate should be bread, rice, pasta, or potatoes. Now, unfortunately, because I had pasta bolognese, it was a much bigger portion of my plate. And I had a little bit of meat in my sauce, my pasta bolognese. I did have some chopped tomatoes in the bolognese sauce, because I made the bolognese sauce myself. So it's a little bit of fruit and veg. And I also chopped an onion, actually, and I put that in the sauce as well. So I've got a bit of onion, got a bit of tomato, but I think to make this balanced, because although I enjoyed my pasta bolognese last night, I think today when I have dinner, I think I'm going to have to eat a lot more fruit and vegetables. I think I might make a vegetable stir fry with maybe a little bit of noodles, which would go in this section. But I think I want to have loads and loads of fruit and vegetables to make up for my unhealthy pasta bolognese yesterday. I think I might get some mushrooms, some peppers, some more onions, maybe some broccoli in there, and I might make a big noodle stir fry for that, and that will make sure that I stay healthy. Because if you have one unhealthy meal, you need to follow it up with a few healthy meals, don't you, to even it out. So I might have a snack as a banana. I was going to have a snack of some crisps later, but on reflection, I think instead of crisps, perhaps it would be healthier for me to have a banana, actually, wouldn't it? So that's the end of our session there. As you could see, we'd have a few more activities if we're doing this in real time. This is just a small part of what would have been an hour-long lesson, but at the end of every character session, we always remind you who you can contact if there's anything that you would like to talk about further, or if you're worried about a friend, then you can always talk to your form tutor, your year leader, school nurse, who's called Kay. She's absolutely lovely. And we also have our school website, which we will be showing you in September, where you can go online and you can contact your teachers there. And that's if perhaps you feel a bit nervous or a bit shy about coming to one of your teachers face to face, you could always catch us on your place. And then very last slide of, like I said, is thinking about our hypothesis. We respect our body by choosing the food we eat. So it's respectable to eat lots of fruit and veg, and we disrespect our health and our body every time we pick perhaps some unhealthy choice. Like I say, the occasional unhealthy choice is okay, as long as you realize you've got to follow it up with some healthy eating after to balance it all out. So thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Miss Hannah, and like I said, I'm so excited to meet you all in September. I hope you enjoy a safe lockdown, and make sure we think about our food and exercise over lockdown as well. All right, have a lovely day, guys. I'll meet you all in September.